sewers, everyone can hear you scream. This is Duderonomy. I'm Dan.
And I'm Bryan.
And this week we're talking about Season 2, Episode 6 of TMNT 87, The Case of the Killer Pizzas. Will it be game over for our fabulous foursome? We'll find out on this week's Ninja Turtle Retread.
Originally aired on November 5th in 1988, but never mind that. We've got some ninja-ing to do. Dan, this is one I've been looking forward to for a while. It is one that I have what I thought were more distinct memories of from childhood, but we can get more into that as the episode unfolds.
Yeah.
But this one, I think, is another one that's easy for anyone of ranging turtle awareness and fandom to remember the point when, oh yeah, that's the one where they fought the xenomorphs.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the episodes that I have held on to in my memory since I was a child. It stands out with, it's that one, the neutrinos one we've already covered, and then there's one in the future that we haven't gotten to yet where the turtles are trying to get a new kimono for Splinter.
Oh, yes.
And I remember that because I'm pretty confident, I'm not 100% sure, I'd have to look this up, but I'm pretty confident that all three were included on the Burger King Kids Club VHS releases.
I have a few. I still have those. I still have some of those.
So you can double check me on it then.
Oh man, next time I go back to my mom's, I gotta go check the boxes in the basement and see what's going on down there. Yeah, like the one thing that I have definitely realized as we have been doing this experiment, we're now 11 episodes in, is that I don't remember the timeline of this series. I remember the tent poles, but I don't remember where they happen outside of like the first episode, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I have fond memories of Mac the cop, the cyborg cop.
Yeah.
Big Mac, the cyborg cop, and then I forgot her name, but she was an Easter egg boss in Shredder's Revenge. The arcade lady, the witch, the cyber witch.
Oh,
what was her name?
Right. Tempestra?
Yeah, Tempestra. I remember that. I have that on cassette tape.
Tempestra sounds like it's from He-Man.
Yeah, it totally does. I also have a vague remembering of the Easter episode where they meet the Easter Bunny, but it's not Usagi Yojimbo.
Boo.
Anyways, that's what I'm saying is like trying to get your head around like when these happened, because in my head, Turtles was such an isolated moment in my own personal history. But when we realized like this series lasted almost a decade, and like some of these episodes happened when I was growing up and roughly a different person, because kids are always changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I thought that was kind of an interesting observation.
I mean, I think we brought up before that like so much of how I remember the show is like, oh, Bebop and Rocksteady were in like every episode. And it's like, no, they've been in Dimension X for pretty much the entire second season.
Yeah, they haven't done much of anything. They barely did anything in the first.
And so much of the early episodes have nothing to do with mutants. And then later on, it's like, I guess they go crazy, because in my head, I'm like, when does Baxter Stockman, which, spoilers,
soon.
When does... Right. When does Slash come in? What about like the Mutanimals and all these different characters that like are even just, I'm looking at the Shredder's Revenge bosses, and it's like, when does Chrome Dome come in? Like,
yeah, I mean they really got a lot of the meat and potatoes and spread it out across the run. There were still good character payoffs even into the Red Sky era. There were still interesting villains to face off, so they really were able to stretch it out. But yeah, stuff like the fact that Bebop and Rocksteady didn't just show up and get fucked up every week. That's what my brain told me happened.
I think part of this is because we do have sort of like compilation brain where, oh, the video games that like, I don't know about you, but like I've played not just Shredder's Revenge, but like Turtles in Time and the general arcade game like way more recently than I have watched this show. And the arcade games like brought in all these different characters that are apparently way more spread out than what they led me to believe in hindsight.
The arcade game, the video games are also weird amalgamations and aren't fully canon, because like Turtles in Time had Tatsu in it. So
I definitely don't mean in the sense of like canonicity, just in a like, oh, they were pulling characters from all over the place, and it made me feel like they were closer together in the timeline of the show, when in reality they were just like picking and choosing fun characters.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're on episode 6 of season 2 is really making a daunting view of the finish line of this. Not that I'm regretting it, but I'm just like, wow, this was a long show, especially for a kid's show.
Yeah, for sure.
But on that note, let's go ahead and get into season 2, episode 6, The Case of the Killer Pizzas. We open on Dimension X, and Krang's given Shredder the business again. It's like the 9 millionth time he's yelled at him, but he keeps giving him another chance because, again, they're masochists. And he promises to give him more resources this time, sending him and Baxter back to Earth while they're still on Earth. He sends to Earth, Krang sends to Earth, these little egg things with a portal gun.
Yeah, this was funny because up until this point, Krang is like, I'm not going to send you any help. You got to prove to me that you're worth it. And apparently, consistent failure is what proves to Krang that he should help Shredder.
Hello, Buster. Here's the candy bar.
Oh, my.
No, I'm withholding it.
But this is another one of those things where, like, I have a note later on in my notes of, like, the pacing on this episode is so quick.
Yeah.
Where they just start out and they're like, Krang is saying, I'm going to send the eggs that you asked for. Like, oh, Shredder knows about them already. Okay, cool.
Calling it pacing, in my opinion, is honestly a little generous. Because at this point, like, honestly, this episode just kicks open the door and starts screaming.
Yeah, there is a certain feeling in this episode that stuff just happens. It's not even like it was planned in a way. Like, things just keep happening.
Yeah, there's a lot of plot contrivance in this one. We can get into that. But yeah, opening up right immediately with the villains throwing a monster of the week. Literally throwing a monster of the week at us.
Yep.
I do like that Rocksteady used the tennis racket to slap him into the portal gun.
And Baxter maintains his soft dance with the catch.
Oh yeah, and then Shredder's rebuttal was on
Good reflexes. We may make a ninja of you yet.
Has he wanted that? Did he want... Is Baxter trying to become a full member of the Foot?
We just wanted to remind you that Shredder is, in fact, the head of a ninja clan.
I think they kind of needed to as the writers are working on the show, because we constantly forget that Shredder is actually menacing. But anyways, I digress. Rocksteady also sends a CVS receipt-sized instruction manual through the portal, which I appreciated.
I love that there's an instruction manual for these living creatures from Dimension X.
That actually makes more sense than anything else in this show. Like, this is the exact kind of, like, loose plot detail that they would use to weave things together, because, one, it's the 80s, and it's the era of the gadget. You know, that's the entire reason the movie like Gremlins got made in the 80s, because everyone was going to buy gadgets at, like, Brookstone or whatever the hell it was. Or at a Sky Mall.
Sharper Image.
Sharper Image, there you go. Yeah, so remote controls should have instruction manuals with them.
That is fair.
So we're joining Shredder and Baxter, and not Shredder and Bebop. Is this a Mandela effect, actually, now that we get into it, with Shredder and having Baxter follow him around, and we always think that it was Bebop and Rocksteady?
For real. I'm so surprised to watch how many episodes is just Shredder and Baxter.
And Baxter holds his own. Like, he's a worthy lackey.
Yeah, I think he kind of fills the same niche as like a Starscream.
Oh, that's a really good observation. He absolutely is a Starscream, because he's kind of like maniacal and muttering under his breath, but also like a puppy dog.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put that.
I just got this still frame right now of them walking the street and Shredder in his disguise of like a monk's robe.
Oh yeah, I my notes say Shredder's back in his Friar Tuck costume. And this is quite possibly the smartest thing he does as a villain in the series. He scares the bejesus out of some kid handing out free pizza cook-off competition flyers. I don't know why the kid's scared. Shredder is the most normal-looking thing on that street at the moment. This is like the opposite of our LaGuardia moment. I mean, honestly, like, people are more scared of metal-faced Doom wandering around in New York City than they are, like, green creatures in trench coats.
Oh my god, yeah. We are going to get to later on in this episode, because I think we are going to have a worst ninjas moment in every episode.
As we damn well should.
I agree with you, though. This is his smartest plan yet.
So he grabs these flyers that just say free pizza on them, crams them down the sewer drain, and then, okay, as unnecessarily as when Leonardo used his swords to catch the very sensitive and delicate space radar, or as smart as it was for Shredder the man covered in knives to cut a rope with his foot. This is when Shredder uses his claws, which I believe are called tekokagi, to unscrew a fire hydrant, which is the exact width of his knuckles, apparently.
Yep.
And then wash the flyers down the drain. Okay, Shredder, they're paper. Pumpkin. So I don't know how any of them survived the washing motion, but either way, his heart was in the right place.
There's so much about this action that's like simultaneously the smartest plan he's ever had, but also like, how did you know that the flow of that water was going to go directly to the turtle's lair?
Well, because physics obey whatever the plot needs it to in this show.
Oh, man. Yeah, it got there fast enough before they all disintegrated in the water.
The bait's good. Maybe they were laminated. Benefit of the doubt. So we're all flushed down the sewer layer at this point. It's training time. And Donnie's making a really sweet sparring robot using a washing machine and a mannequin dummy that he just shoved in it. I would love to. I want to see this in real life. I want to see this in live action in one of the movies at some point.
Someone on YouTube has had to have made this.
It seems like actually a pretty good idea, and for what it's worth, it wallops Mikey.
I just love that Donnie is the like master of machines. It's the thing he's known for throughout every iteration of the Turtles, and yet, like, I mean, he's already made some pretty awesome things in this show. I don't want to take away from his personification here, but the idea of just taking the top half of a mannequin and shoving it on the spin cycle of a washing machine isn't exactly the most, like, I don't know if it's like a stroke of genius or just like these are the parts I had lying around this time. We don't make money, so this is what you get.
Not everything needs to be quantum engineering. Sometimes you just gotta MacGyver a solution, man.
That is true.
That's the better version of Donatello. Donatello not with, like, space gear. Donatello with, like, a paperclip and a rubber band. I want more of this.
You might be sorry you said that.
So he's made the sparring dummy. Mikey gets rocked, and Raph uses his sai to unplug it. So how many ways can we use a weapon wrong in this show? It's seriously, though. It's like, oh, we're going to fight these guys who are here to kill us. Let me find a flower pot to drop on their head. Oh, you need me to change the channel on the TV? Hand me a gun. Like, that's what it feels like sometimes. I do like this line, and I feel like this is going to be important later. Splinter, when Raphael takes out the washing machine dummy, Splinter says,
sometimes sabotaging an enemy's line of supply is more effective than a frontal attack.
Yeah, I think you and I are just getting exactly on the same wavelength now, because I also took that down with the note, I wonder if that's relevant to today's episode.
Red flag, red flag, red flag. They're not subtle about it either. Everything stops and just looks at him. He's like, you guys were worried about the moral ambiguity of our turtles? Here is the lesson you should learn.
I also think, like, it is a little bit tropey by the show, right? To have, like, Splinter, he's the sensei. There's a little bit of, like, Asian stereotyping here, being like, he has the answer all along. He's going to say something wise, but he's going to say it in a kind of quote-unquote confusing way that the Turtles couldn't figure out, like, what he was saying, and they still had to learn from their experience or something.
So what you're saying is I should just go ahead and start pulling all of our affirmations from Confucius.
No, I'm explicitly saying that we should not.
All right, so Splinter lays out some knowledge. Raph says,
thank you, Sensei. I've always been great against household appliances.
There was a really weird delivery to that line, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was like he was genuinely accepting a compliment from his teacher, but could not stop himself from being an asshole about it.
But, like, he's never stopped himself before. Why is he dialing back the sarcasm now? Because his dad paid him a compliment?
I guess, yeah, right? It's like, oh, I'm genuinely touched, but also, I have a reputation to uphold.
So we're in the middle of practicing. Shredder's tidal wave washes in, and Mikey's, of course, excited as soon as he spots the flyers.
Cowabunga!
Yeah, he spots the tidal wave first, the flood first, and he doesn't warn anybody in his family. He's just like, whoa, cowabunga!
That's right. He wasn't as excited about the flyers as he was just surfing at that point. Everyone gets swept up in what I assume was recycled footage from episode 2, season 1. Weird cut, though. Like, as soon as the water washes in and everybody goes off the screen, they're just suddenly hanging from a pipe.
Yep.
There was no kinetic motion to that. It's just like, boom, cut. But lo and behold, the flyer plan has worked. Shredder's finally got a win. Everyone in that room is on board for the competition. Splinter even seems cool with it for some reason.
Yeah, Splinter immediately recognizes that this is definitely a Shredder plan because he sees the claw marks in the paper. And, I mean, like, to be fair, there's not a lot of other people in New York City walking around with claws on their hands. At least not yet.
It's wet paper, though. How distinctive can those identifying marks be? Is Splinter just Wolverine in his tracking abilities?
I guess so. Right?
I guess it does make sense. They establish that. Like, Splinter is good at hunting and tracking, which does kind of make sense both as a ninja warrior and as a rat, so I'll give him that one.
They have established that Splinter is, he knows everything.
Yes, but he won't tell anyone the important stuff until after it's passed.
But I mean, like, even here, he's like, this has got to be a Shredder plan. Look at the claws on the thing. And then the next line is Leonardo being like, then the bake-off could be a trap. Really?
Your kids are stupid, Amato.
You just kind of see, you got to think of Splinter in the background hearing that line being like, oh, damn. You're supposed to be the smart one.
All right, so we know what the plan is because it's been telegraphed to us wholesale. We cut to the street. April and Irma are walking amongst a street fair or a carnival or something.
I think we should have a sound effect every time Irma comes on. I want there to be like a bit of, it's Thirsty Irma. Thirsty Irma is back.
All right, we'll work on that.
Yoo-hoo! Irma, what are you doing in the sewers?
Well,
I'm thirsty.
So we cut up to the street. We know what the plan is. It's been laid out for us on Front Street very, very, very transparently. April and Irma are walking around in a street fair, a carnival or something, and they are lamenting about boys.
Yup.
Because that's what Irma does. And then the worst ninjas ever pull April aside into an alleyway, and she points out the obvious.
I just like, there's so much about this scene. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, what the reason for it is. Is the so the thing that happens first, do they set this up just so that they have a place for Irma to go so that she doesn't see the turtles, so that she could keep questioning April's sanity and being like, you should get a man?
I guess, but I mean, Irma has seen the turtles at this point.
Then why does it still feel like she's like, oh, these imaginary turtles that April keeps talking about?
Because the writers forgot.
Because, like, it's not even just that Irma is thirsty this time. It's that Irma is talking about a date that she went on with an accordion player. And I guess she was talking about this because she heard accordion music playing?
Is that offensive? Is that a stereotype?
Just, like, there's so much about this that, like, how recently did she go on this date?
I'm gathering about 8 minutes ago.
Let me preface this. None of this matters.
True.
Absolutely none of what I'm about to say matters. I just think it's funny. Because they set up this whole, like, minute and a half of April and Irma walking to the pizza festival, and she's just complaining about this accordion player that she went on a date with and how crazy his mustache was. And they are at a pizza place that is just playing stereotypical Italian accordion music. And of course the accordion player is the guy that she went on a date with.
Irma, dulce mia, it is I, Alfredo.
Hey, paisanos!
Never mind that New York City has like 6 million people living in it. Of course, he's the only accordion player. And he's here, and he is excited, and he wants to get another date with Irma to the point where later on when April uses the turtles to get rid of this guy, he's like, our babies are going to be green? Oh no, dude, you went on one date. What the hell?
One, it's hard to get a read on Irma. Like, 1 minute she is a walking lady boner, and the other one she's running away. Nothing about her makes sense. I do like this Alfredo guy. I honestly feel kind of bad for him. He is the ugliest man in the street. I did want to make an animation observation. Animation is getting a little nicer. It's not better. It's not objectively better by any sorts. But the humans don't look like goblins anymore.
That is true.
Credit where credit's due. About 5 minutes and 30 seconds in, there's like a ship captain and a spinster and Bill Murray just standing there, I guess. But yeah, Alfredo's still hideous.
Alfredo, okay, how old do you think April and Irma are?
Everything intends to point them towards being like young to mid 20s, like not college age, clearly in the workforce, but not older. But every once in a while, Irma just feels 40.
Right. Well, that's what's like. I was in the same impression that April and Irma are kind of like in their 20s somewhere, like post-college, apparently very successful April reporter at a young age, but whatever. Yeah, like, okay, in the 20s somewhere. Alfredo looks like he's 50.
Yeah. Irma's all types, though. Irma does not discriminate. All right, I do like the April's introduction of Papa Leonardo, Uncle Don, Cousin Raph, and Auntie Michelangelo.
Yep.
And Alfredo immediately dips.
Yeah, he's not interested in green babies for sure. Also, I just had this thought. This is my last note on Alfredo. Does he kind of resemble Borat?
I guess a little.
Just thinking of like the bad accent, the mustache.
They're nice.
Is this where they're at also? Is this like basically the Feast of San Gennaro? Or just like New York summer streets?
I guess, right?
The one thing that is kind of brushed under the rug that is important is that April does go and put all their names in for the pizza drawing, because obviously that's what they're there for.
Yep.
Almost missed that. I actually had to go back to make sure there wasn't a huge plot hole.
Yeah, they ask her too as like, she uses them to get rid of Alfredo and is like, how can I pay you back? And they're like, here's our names, throw them in there.
And grab us some free samples or something like that too, right?
Right, the ref says, like, get us 10 pounds of those free samples.
It's like going to Costco. So the competition pizzas have arrived. Is Shredder hiding behind a storefront signage that vaguely resembles the Leaning Tower of Pisa? Because the camera just kind of zooms in on it and doesn't show you anything.
He is hiding in it. It is an elevated thing that he is somehow inside.
Yeah, okay, thanks. That's very clear in the animation.
Because he swings down from it when the turtles see him inside it. So it wasn't even that good of a hiding spot.
But that's like a minute later, too. All we do is like Shredder's reading dialogue and the camera just zooms in on a sign. And we're just led to it because they don't show him duck behind there. We're just led to assume like, oh, I guess that's him now.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Baxter is swiftly planting the Krang egg meatball thingies from Dimension X on the prize pizzas.
Yeah, I mean, good thing that this wildlife from Dimension X looks like meatballs in their egg stage.
If you want to split hairs, let's talk about the alien eggs from actual Alien that just look like big eggs.
Yep. I gotta say, I really like the style on this MC.
What, Buff Prince?
It's like so unique. Like, I love that they just created this unique character. He stands out in a way that you think he'd be important to the episode, and this is all he does.
And in fact, he hands over most of his responsibility in a moment.
Yeah. I mean, he's got like the pompadour, and he has a bow tie that is apparently clipped onto the lapel of his shirt.
Oh, didn't even notice that.
It's like, why do you even have that on? Why did you, like, this is the thing you came to do. Why did you put the tie on, but not in a way of actually putting it on? You had to keep your chest hair open, huh?
Well, all I thought, he just looks like Prince. Oh, I see what you're saying. It's dangling off his collar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, he got dressed and he had the bow tie on, then he was like, you know what? This is too uptight. I gotta loosen up for the pizza festival, and undid like 4 buttons.
He like pulls a tiny little bit of Frank Sinatra swag out for that one. Oh no, I take it back. It's a little more of a William Shatner.
She packed my bags.
Oh yeah.
With the untie, yeah.
Last night, pre-flight.
So like we said, he immediately hands over his responsibility. Why is Baxter the guest drawer, or the coveted guest who's going to pull the prized names off? Why is it Baxter?
I think because he just walks on the stage.
And says, I want to do this?
Yeah. Because he just hops on stage with guys like, and here's our volunteer.
But just as a volunteer or like a celebrity? Because it felt more like they were welcoming up Bill Nye. I don't know, I just thought that was weird. Like, why is he suddenly participating?
Oh, absolutely. It's totally weird.
To sabotage it, I get it, but, like, who in their right mind would let a stranger do this?
The show must go on, I guess. You know, guy gets up on stage and is like, I want to read. Like, all right, fine. Let's make it look like we were supposed to do this.
Shredder is in fact inside the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and he does one of the goofiest little zoop moves, and then flips down the facade of the building and into a door.
Yeah, it's all of like 5 feet off the ground, and he climbs down the whole statue.
He like friggin' Tarzan.
Yeah. I mean, like, in episode 2, this guy fell from a skyscraper to land as like a badass intro, and here he's like, nope, gotta be careful, gotta scale down this this building.
Like a spider monkey.
I could twist an ankle, and then he just like swings into the doorway anyway.
The doorway that is definitely closed. If you look close at the animation, it is definitely closed. Meanwhile, the pizza joint that supplied the prize pizzas for this contest thing, they get a late delivery call, so they repo the pre-made pizzas, which have been sitting on the table for several minutes now and probably cold, and also ripe with devil eggs. So in the realm of like weak plot contrivances, this one isn't that bad, but like also what pizza place is so far back on their supply that they have to repo the pizzas? Because the owner guy is like, we'll just make more for the contest. Like, okay, yeah, that's economic in a kind of in a sense, but couldn't you just spend the 10 minutes to make that pie fresh for the people who are actually paying for it?
Yeah, I don't. There's a lot in the pizza in this episode leaves a lot to be desired.
Pizza in most of these episodes leave a lot to be desired.
In terms of like, wait, how long does it take to deliver things here?
Okay, we're gonna get into that. This is where I have a big problem, is the timeline. So Shredder, we mentioned Shredder flips into the pizza joint. Turtles run in after him like the fucking Keystone Cops. And then the man covered in knives throws a knife he pulled off the wall to knock down some pots.
Yep.
But the payoff is that we finally get the turtles do the head retract into shell thing.
There it is.
Whoa, how about that? Saved by the shell.
We haven't focused enough on the fight music. We've talked about music in this show before, but holy cow, as repetitive as it is, and how it is such a devastating earworm that is going to be stuck in my head, probably yours for the next week. That fight music for the Turtle Show, we haven't given it enough credit to this point. We're in season 2. Amazing fights. That music always gets my blood pumping.
It bops.
It's a shame that there weren't maybe more variations on it. For the sake of variety. But yeah.
But I mean, a lot of these shows, a lot of kids' cartoons, like dating back decades and decades, were very repetitive.
Very.
You know, they reused music, they reused animation, they reused a lot because it was cheap.
And nothing wrong with that. I get it, and I appreciate it. I'm just saying now at 36, like, I want remixes.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to reach out to Mario.
Yes. Whenever we launch season 2 of this, when we go on to the next series, when we do Next Mutation, we're not gonna do that.
That's a Patreon goal.
That's a you gotta pay me a lot of money to do that goal.
It's a really large Patreon goal.
It's a very big stretch goal. I can't also believe it took us 11 episodes for the Ninja Turtles to fight with pizza supplies.
Right? That feels like it should have happened already.
Massive oversight. I am honestly a little heartbroken.
This was probably the first pun that I actually got mad about, though.
Gladly, have a donut.
You got mad, and it's my favorite. I just have a note that just says, "Bro, Shredder got jokes."
Like, it's probably the first one that I was like, boo!
Oh, you stink!
Yeah, that's definitely an outward cringe moment, even for Shredder. But it works!
It does work.
That's the sad part. Donnie, did you really think that the soft, unmade pizza dough was going to be that much of a detriment to the man covered in knives?
Yeah.
You couldn't knock down a toddler with that.
Well, okay, so all of the fight scenes in this show have already been, like, set piece fights. Like, they rely a lot on whatever location they're in because they can't really use their weapons to fight.
Right.
So, fair. I totally get that. This is definitely the first one where I was like, all of this is pointless. This is just a food fight.
Nothing wrong with a food fight.
None of this is gonna hurt anyone.
No. But Shredder does get some good comeuppance. I do enjoy the finishing move on this.
Well, this, like, when we first started talking, before we started recording, we were talking about, like, how we feel about the episode, and we were kind of, like, on different ends on this one, everybody. But the thing that happens in this scene that's really funny to me is they toss pizza, they spin it around, right? Raph gets 2 pizza pies on tins that he's like spinning around on his sides. He suddenly becomes Donatello because his masks and arm guards turn purple for some reason.
Yeah.
Donnie throws a whole bunch of sauce at him, and they pie him in the face, and he lands on a cart, and the cart slides out through a door and outside of the building, and apparently the fight's over.
Yeah, Shredder just takes the L.
Because, like,
he just takes the L on that one. He's just too humiliated.
The Turtles don't go out to check on him, and I don't think they show Shredder running away. He just says that he really hates anchovies, and that's it.
I mean, if I had a bunch of anchovies shoved in my face, my day's over too. He's not wrong. Anchovies are a mistake. Anybody who puts them on their pizza, go ahead and unsubscribe.
Get in the comments.
Oh, God, that'll be the next poll I put out. What's your favorite topping? All right. So while the battle's taking place out front, Baxter's pulling the winning names and, spoilers, sabotaging them.
So the names are Sam Jones, Mary Parks, and Bob Binks.
Thank you. When I was watching the episode, I looked them up to see if they were Easter eggs or, I don't know, production assistant names or something like that. Couldn't find anything, so nothing there.
I have a slight nitpicky thing here, which, that's my role in the entire show here. But
and I'm not.
When Baxter first hops up on the stage, the MC is like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "I'm Mr. Baxter Stockman," which is that just sounds weird. Mr. Baxter.
Yeah.
Sounds weird. When we come back to this scene to read the numbers out, he refers to him as Professor, which I thought he was an inventor. I would have assumed Dr. Stockman.
He is a doctor. He does have a doctorate canonically.
So Professor Baxter Stockman also seems weird.
It's a swing and a miss.
What is he teaching at a community college too?
I mean, to make ends meet, have you seen where he lives? I don't know. That's a good catch, though. I did not pick up on that at all. But when the one thing I didn't like was they have 3 winning tickets, not 4. And Baxter announces that the winners are Leonardo, Donatello, and Michelangelo, and Raph gets left off.
Yep, but they still get 4 pizzas.
But they still get 4 pizzas. That's right. Which is weird too, because last time I checked, there was only 3 eggs, right? Eggs.
Yeah, this is super nitpicky. There were only 3
It's
deluxe
not.
pizzas. No. I'm going to be super nitpicky. There were only 3 deluxe pizzas. There were only 3 meatballs that got put on, like the alien eggs that got put on those 3 deluxe pizzas. The Turtles only handed April 3 tickets, and then they get 4 pizzas.
Whole lot of contrivance. That's all I could say. Like, everything about this episode was just like a lightning mad dash to the end, just so that they could get a Monster of the Week fight out.
It's just really funny to me that this entire process, they were consistent. There were 3 names, 3 pies, 3 eggs. The Turtles gave 3 tickets. They read off 3 names at the end when Baxter cheated, and then they got 4 pies.
It was 1988. The writer's room was riddled with cocaine. And that's all I can say. But yeah, they got the pizzas. Reward April with one of the pizzas because they're gluttons.
Yep.
And that's to say thanks.
Yellow box for the yellow jumpsuit.
But she's holding the pizza on its side, Daniel.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing has been sitting outside for however long, a long time.
Never rotate a pizza 90 degrees.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm trying to back her up here. Come on.
Or 45 degrees.
Yeah, she holds it like it's a box from Macy's.
That's an observation I did not come to. Yeah, you're right. But she takes it back to Irma. She's going to share it with Irma, and they're reheating it in the microwave. And apparently has drastically changed size and spatial distribution.
Thank you. I have a huge problem. These are huge pizzas, and they fit the entire box in the microwave.
The box changes blatant size. Like, you see April holding it, and it's the width of her shoulders, and then when she brings it to Irma's apartment, it's the width of her waste.
And then even later on, we'll get to it with the other pizza that we see get delivered. They also put the whole box in the microwave.
What kind of microwaves was Sears manufacturing in the 80s? Were these things full-on ovens? Did no one understand that a microwave is not an oven?
And I guess that, like, everybody knows that the pizza in this world is just going to be delivered horrifically late because the first thing they do is to go heat it up in the microwave.
Well, I mean, she carried it there, and I wanted to give that the benefit of the doubt. It's like, okay, she's got a pizza that she picked up on the street, walked to her friend's house. Yeah, it's warranted if they want to reheat it at that point. And that's coming from someone who is religiously against reheating pizza.
Well, there's no excuse for the next time.
No, there isn't. But anyways, the pizza goes into the microwave, and something horrifying is happening. A little cute, red, pot-bellied man who looks like a reject from the Ghoulies films from the 90s is hatched from the meatball, and he's eating the pizza, which is already upsetting. And then it just kind of turns into like a super low-rent Godzilla feature from here on out.
Yep.
Irma retrieves the pie, and its physiology has reverted back to normal size as it exits the microwave. And the little red man hops out. And
oh my God, you're right. It's small in the microwave, and then the whole box is much larger on the table.
just lazy animation at that point. But anyways, we come to our first commercial break. Cliffhanger. Horror is about to unfold. Can we also just make an appreciation note for the art of the segue in this show? I wanted to ask, like, do you think there's any patterns in it? It's like, wait, there is a pattern. April gets in trouble. Cut to commercial.
Yeah, well, that's got to be the cliffhanger, right?
Yeah, but it's always April.
Oh, so there were a couple episodes of the first season where the turtles were in trouble, and that was the cliffhanger, or the one where like Splinter was gonna get hit with a giant fist battering ram. I can't.
Oh, you got me there.
Can't even say that with a straight face. That is a thing that happened.
I just want to make a love letter appreciation for classic TV formatting. There's something about we've gone on the tirade about how kids shows largely don't have great theme songs as much anymore, exceptions to the rule aside. But also the structure of a show to have little cliffhangers and commercial breaks in the world of YouTube, legacy anthology shows, premium HBO content, that jazz. The art of the commercial break has been lost.
Yeah.
And I love hearkening back to shows like this where you know that you've got 90 seconds or so to run and grab a fresh Coke or a bowl of cereal, and come running back and have enough time. I don't know. I miss those old days of how we used to watch TV.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny for me, like, in a world where you can pause things, I do still find myself occasionally just letting something run and being like, I have a second, and then realizing, like, oh no, I didn't have enough time. I should have paused this. There are no commercials.
Yeah.
Or like that YouTube ad is not as long as I think it is.
Well, even the ads aside, you think you got like a pocket, like a run P moment, and it just you miss something.
Yeah.
I do miss old TV to an extent. But April is calling the turtles now that Red Man is on the loose, but she's not using a turtle comm if you look.
Yeah, she's just using a regular ass phone.
Just like a regular wireless telephone.
Apparently, the turtle communicators reach, they're on the phone lines.
I mean, that's cross-platform. That's some real technological advancement right there.
Good job, Donnie.
So, the Red Man's nipping at her heels, and then I just want to point out this line. Donnie says, "Let's peel rubber."
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's peel rubber.
And there's a callback to that, so make a note. I also like what Leo says. For one, I think Cam Clark was drunk for all the recording in this episode because his delivery is just chef's kiss. But he says,
Quick, guys! April's under attack by some weird creature!
This episode is such a great example of all the times that Leo has, like, the most absurd, he's the hero! He's super honorable! Like, he has to say things in this weird exclamation, which then later on in, like, Turtles Forever and the crossover episode with the 2012 TMNT, they just, like, lampshade him all the time for it.
Yeah, I never really thought about it, but, like, that... With the Turtles, Donnie's the smart one, Mikey's the party guy, Raph's the angry one in various degrees, and Leo's just the leader.
Yeah.
So his characterization is to be overly dramatic, I guess.
Yeah, right? Like, his characterization is a job, and that's not really explanatory. That doesn't tell us anything about his emotions or his personality. So his personality is really loud.
I mean, I know you're the Leo stan in the group, but you have to forgive us for being like, this guy's annoying.
No, like this is definitely a thing where, like, looking back at it now as not a child watching this show, there are definitely moments where it's like, God, this guy's so lame.
Leo's the guy you accidentally leave off the group text.
He's just like, what if, you know how they call Superman a Boy Scout?
Yeah.
Like, what if Superman actually was a Boy Scout and he was an Eagle Scout? That's Leo.
No, Leo's like a weeblo. He's not quite there yet. He's just trying too hard to prove himself. But anyways, the Ninja Turtles arrive to save the day because apparently they live in Irma's basement.
Yep. They are confronted by a Charmander.
That's much better. Yeah, I like yours. I keep just calling him the little red man. But they have this adorable little chase scene around the apartment, and Donnie knocks over a chair and has a favorite sound effect that I love, the sack of potato. And I mean,
it's pretty much a Tom and Jerry skit.
It is a Tom and Jerry skit, but I also can't help but think of in the first Ninja Turtle movie when the Splinter rat puppet is doing the martial arts. That's exactly what your little Charmander's doing. He's doing the same hand motions and stuff. That's all I could think of.
That is great.
They tussle, they corner it, they wrap it up in a carpet, and then Leo almost sounds disappointed that they didn't get a monster in their pizza.
How come we didn't get any monsters with our pizzas?
Yeah, how come we didn't get a monster?
Yeah, it's just the line is fine, but his delivery was a little misguided. We got a big plot hole though. April points out what we in the audience know, that the pizzas were swapped, right?
Yep.
We know that happened. We saw it happen. But no one in the cast witnessed this. There's no reason for her to know that the pizzas were swapped out.
Hers is a different color.
The box was a different color. Eventually.
Yep.
But does that necessarily differentiate?
Well, like when they got it, the new ones were white boxes and her old one was yellow.
But it's not like she had a white box and then they swapped it in her hands. She just got a yellow box.
They got all four of their pizzas together. The one off from the table was yellow. The other ones that they got were white.
Yeah, but that's just a box. I mean, that doesn't tell you anything. That doesn't tell her that the boxes were white and then became yellow.
That one just, like, I just kind of assume, I'm okay with them papering over this because, like, do you want them to take the time of, like, April picking up the pizzas and then being like, oh, hey, we got these fresh ones?
I mean, I guess somebody witnessing the delivery kids moving them or something would have helped.
Yeah.
But they do glaze over this really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they do. They could have had a thing where, like, April, saw the kid taking them or something like that. But I don't know. I'm okay with them papering it over and her just being like, I'm a goddamn reporter. I looked into it.
This whole moment is super weird, though, because they're all on the same page about the swap pizzas that no one should have heard or known of. Like, even the Turtles like, oh, yeah, of course. And then April apparently just calls the pizza joint to confirm that the delivery guy took those pizzas, which is good journalism. But then they give her the pizza boy's route, and that's called stalking. And that's illegal. And then it gets worse, and I'm going to come down hard. In the time it took for April to get a pizza to Irma's, reheat it, panic, call the Turtles, fight the little Charmander, fail, and then deduce that there are more of them, and then go retrieve the blimp. Mario the Pizza Boy hasn't even delivered the other pizzas yet.
Oh, yeah. No, this guy is the worst delivery guy.
It is a time vortex. Did he go through a wormhole? It's not like he's delivering far. He's delivering to a midtown high-rise. We already know they're in Manhattan.
I mean, like, he probably went and he did something else, Just, this was the time that the driver went and got his weed for the week or something.
I mean, that is the most believable side quest, but still, my point remains valid. This is weak.
Oh, yeah. No, everything about this, like, once they showed the delivery boy, I was like, wait, how long did it take him to deliver this? Like, what is wrong with you?
Wise man once say, forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
There it is.
Our heroes converge, and now the Channel 6 crew is part of this as well, because, of course, they are. Another great Leo line.
Then let's cut him off at the pass.
Oh, my God, yeah. He has so many in just this one episode, too. Let's get them!
So these pizzas are being delivered to this rich penthouse in Midtown. The kids receive the delivery, and then they immediately go and throw it in the microwave to heat them up. Now, we know that Mario took forever to get the pizza to them.
Right.
But the kids don't necessarily know that, and they haven't even opened the box and immediately deduce, it's probably cold by now. Let's put it in the microwave.
Yeah, this is just this Manhattan. This world in the multiverse is where pizza delivery guys cannot deliver on time.
This family also lives on like the 100th floor of a building that doesn't exist in New York City, so maybe I don't know, the elevator took too long. Also, like, the pizza guy would not come all the way up. Like, you got to go down for that stuff. For anybody who's never lived in an urban environment, the pizza guy's not running through your lobby and like coming up to your front door in the apartment. You go down and meet him on the street.
That is true. But I mean, there's a lot in this segment here that, you know how like a couple episodes ago we had a moment where I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
I had another one of those in this episode.
That's the whole episode, man. You just go with it.
So the turtles took the blimp to get to the kid's apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
They disconnect the glider to land on the building, but when the monsters escape, they just hop back on the glider and it flies away.
Yeah, did you know that this unmotorized glider that they've established does not have motors in it? It has vertical takeoff.
It's like, why do they need the blimp? And then I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but it's all like compiled in this one scene. April, the cameraman, and Vernon.
Wait, we should back up real quick.
Okay.
Before you get into that one. So before they even take back off on the glider, though, they do dive through the window to try to stop the little red man.
Yep.
And the kids do not give a fuck. And this is our, you going to LaGuardia moment, are you?
You're going to LaGuardia, right?
You're just big turtles, and that's lower than babysitters. Ouch.
Lower than babysitters. Not worse, lower.
So Donnie and Mike are in the apartment, right? And they cut outside to the glider, and it starts off as Raph and Leo, but then when the glider lands, it's Donnie and Raph.
Which doesn't make sense either, because that's a mixed match of who lands in the window. Isn't it Yeah, it's Leo and Raph.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it should be Leo and Raph, but Leo gets replaced with Donatello.
Boy, good catch. This whole episode moves so fast, I missed some.
I literally just noticed it now because I'm scrolling through the episode again. I definitely didn't pick it up on first watch.
But they're too late. The Red Mans are free, and they are climbing down the building, snatching your peoples up.
Yep.
And the glider takes back off, fucking somehow.
I did want to point out one more thing with the kids. They have this really great, like, classic animation of their kid, like the eyes bugging out when they look in the box and it's the monsters and not the pizza.
Oh, like Tex Avery style?
Yeah. There's a nice little, like, animation homage in there.
They're not afraid of that stuff. They don't shy away from that. I appreciate that. Because it's still a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
And it should behave like a cartoon. But April and crew are chasing the creatures as they burn their way into the studio, broadcasting the whole time? Like, so April, like, fires up the camera in the elevator. And I just, like, I guess she's pre-taping her intro or something like that. But by the time it's all done, like, Irma's watching it live, and it's like the feed is cutting out. Vernon, man, did a terrible job. No one's gonna watch that kind of a mess.
The whole thing is hilarious. They go up in the elevator. Vernon sees the monsters on the outside of the elevator, so they go back down. He then tries to run away. He's like, I want nothing to do with this. Which, fair point. Good on you. He's made
Wouldn't
it
have
look
been smarter to continue up the elevator then? The opposite direction?
Well, it's just like he's made to look like, Vernon's such a weakling. He doesn't want to get into any danger. He just want to wimp out on everybody. Like, he just saw two monsters. They're small, but, like, I don't know. Good for him. Get out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go chasing after him.
Especially because when they do chase after them, it's just yakety sacks the whole time.
I mean, it is kind of a fun little chase because they're, like, burning their way through everything, so they're just chasing scorched footprints across the floor. And then the little guy dips down into a washing machine. Another interesting through line there for the plot of the episode, that washing machines are important facets of the plot development. I'll take it.
Yeah, but even before that, like April, the cameraman, and Vernon are running on the street after the monsters. And Vernon's like, I don't want to be here. I'm going to run away. And April's like, no, you got to come with us. So he like jumps in front of them and then falls and knocks everybody over so they lose the monsters. It's like, why did you bolt ahead in the first place? You don't want to be there.
He might have saved their lives by slowing them down. I don't know. That could have been like a hero folly. That's like a Clark Kent moment.
It's a Jar Jar Binks is what it is.
Well, I thought mine was a nicer take, but yeah, you're right. I also, Irma's got on-site laundry. That's a nice perk.
Yeah. Real nice in Manhattan.
So she follows the little red man through the back of the washer, which he's, of course, scorched through. And then they're just immediately in the sewers when she crosses the wall.
Oh, that makes a ton more sense. Thank you for explaining that.
It does?
I didn't even think that. Okay, so here's the thing. It doesn't make sense that it's connected right to the sewer. That was my whole problem. I was like, why is the dryer connected to the sewer? But the fact that he burned, the monster burnt a hole through the back of the dryer and then into the sewer, although it doesn't make sense why there's a big, huge opening that Irma crawls through.
Well, I just want to call out whoever the architecture on this. Like, who the hell designed this building to be embedded in the sewer system like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already established that the sewer system in this world makes no goddamn sense.
It's just a vast underworld city.
Yeah.
But anyway, she follows it through, and then the little guy jumps in the sewer water and then just inexplicably starts growing.
Yep.
And he goes from little Charmander and turns into a full-blown yellow xenomorph.
It needed heat to hatch, but then it needed water to evolve.
Oh my god, it's gremlins! How did I not catch on that? After preaching about it earlier in the episode, you're totally right. It's Gremlins rules. Oh, man. Now I'm disappointed in myself.
But yes, it becomes a giant yellow xenomorph.
And cue our second commercial cliffhanger as the Killer Pizza crock floats down the water.
Yeah, and like, so here's where, like, if you thought the pacing in this episode was already really quick, it goes into light speed from here on out. It's just like everybody's on top of each other, everybody's running away. Oh, there's the two tiny monsters. Raph doesn't believe it. Oh, you're gonna attack us with the two tiny monsters? No, they're giant xenomorphs now.
Get away from her, you bitch!
They all just end up in the same place, and now for the next, like, remaining like 10 minutes of the episode, they're just like, everyone's fighting these things. They all happen to be in the same location.
I'll give them this. They give everyone something to do in this episode, and it is just a knockdown, drag-out fight for half of it. You're right. The last 10 minutes are basically just a brawl.
I just caught this moment where Leo draws his sword to fight one of the things and then just shoves it in the ground and uses it like a javelin to launch himself out of frame. Just goes, nope.
As much as we do love the 87 series, like, nothing would make me happier if they actually use their weapons a little bit. And that's the one good thing about the later seasons, is they actually fight.
It is really funny, and it shows the limitations of taking what was originally a explicitly adult-oriented comic and trying to make it into a kid's show.
It's truly impressive when you take it from ground zero to where it's become, or where it is now, and all the things that they were able to kind of repurpose.
For sure.
And how well it does work. Now, it is night and day.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's definitely something to be said for the vanillification. I don't know. What would you call this?
Well, I mean, it's an adaptation. That, like,
yeah,
you know, like, they did a really good job. I don't mean to say that in, like, a derogatory way. They did a really great job of turning this into a kid show in a short amount of time, if you consider when the original idea was put to paper and then the animated series coming out. Like, they just, wow, like, they did a really great job. And
no, I'm 100% agreeing with you, because it is weird source material to get any of this out of. But the nice part is that, you know, Eastman and especially Laird left the rules so wide open that everything goes. Like you
Yeah.
said, it was a comic book where it's like they're mutants, but like let's fucking time travel this week, and that's exactly how the show approaches it, with just less swearing and blood. So we got 3 important groups. We got Turtles in Group 1, Shredder and Baxter in Group 2. They're following 2 of the creatures, and then April and the Channel 6 crew meet up with Irma in the sewer, and then they follow the other 3rd creature through the sewer system. Weird inconsistency in this episode, too, that I observed. And I went back, and this happens all the way through. Vernon's got brown hair when he's usually black hair. It's just a weird coloring issue. It doesn't ruin anything, but I was just like, something is off in this moment.
Yeah.
And it's looking at his head, it's like, oh yeah, you have a hairline. Time to introduce some classic horror tropes to kids.
Yep.
As the monsters are sneaking and lurking in the shadows, sneaking up behind, snarling. And bonus, Jim Cummings is the voice of the pizza monsters.
Oh man, that's awesome.
The one and only Winnie the Pooh.
I loved the monster sounds in this episode, especially if you have the subtitles on. Everything just is shown as grrr.
With 3 or 4 R's. It's 4 R's, right?
It's 3 on mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Appreciation to whatever intern had to do those captions for Lionsgate.
Just like the scene of them chasing. So Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady are watching, and apparently they tapped into Shredder's closed caption television circuit because he can, the closed circuit television, sorry. Because they have just like the perfect camera angle on everything that's happening whenever it happens.
Yeah, one of my favorite things about this is that Krang and Bebop and Rocksteady are just watching the whole thing unfold like a sitcom and like yelling at the screen. Oh, we can't see.
Don't go. We want to watch.
And there's a scene where the 2 monsters are chasing Baxter, Shredder, and Raph, and they're watching, and it's just like, it's comedic without the music on. Like, I have the episode muted so that we could talk and I'm not getting distracted by it. But if you watch it on mute, it looks so funny because they are just like raising their arms up and down as they're running. And like, again, it's supposed to be the like, we're coming to get you, but it just looks like a weird like dance.
They just do like Frankenstein arms for no good reason.
It's like the Spaceballs xenomorph pops out and does the Hello My Baby dance on the countertop.
Baby, my heart's on fire.
On that note, I have an alternate podcast idea for us if this one fails. MST3K meets Statler and Waldorf, but it's Bebop and Rocksteady. Just do an entire commentary episode as Bebop and Rocksteady.
Oh my god.
Just roasting something.
I mean, hell, I think we should just pitch that to the original voice actors. That's amazing.
That's their new podcast. I would watch that. I'd listen to that. Okay, so back into the plot. Baxter's using another tracking device that looks like Ziggy from Quantum Leap. Says the instructions say to turn this knob to summon, which, in my initial gut reaction, is like, what instruction? Oh, wait. Rocksteady gave you instructions. That's right.
He does trip on the CVS receipt, though.
Yeah, and shreds it because it's a dot matrix printer. The 2 monsters jump the turtles, and with some quick thinking and acrobatics, they save their skin, and eventually rodeo jump on the back of the heads of these monsters, and then trick them into just wailing on each other.
Yep.
And I was just like, this would be a great version of a boss fight in a video game.
Oh yeah, man.
You see the turtles going like Shadow of the Colossus on the pizza monsters.
Yeah, those were just like regular kind of minions in the video games, right? They weren't a boss.
They were like one-hitters. They just kind of popped out of the water and you smacked them out of the sky and that was it.
Oh man, what a missed opportunity.
Lots of those coming up, including Donnie smacking the controller out of Baxter's hand so that it bounced into the water. Therefore, everybody loses control of the creatures and they just go AWOL.
Yeah, so we actually get like the Turtles and Shredder teaming up for the first time.
This is what I'm here for. This is the stuff that gets me every time, is when the heroes and the villains have to align to defeat a greater evil. I love this stuff. I'm such a sucker for it.
I mean, it's a good trope, and it's also another one of those things that, like, man, this is just another one of those repeating things in Turtle history where the Turtles and Shredder have to team up for some reason. But my favorite part here is when Leo comes up with the plan, and he comes up with a quote that Splinter said, and he says, "Sometimes you have to make a pact with evil in order to accomplish good." And Raph's immediately like, "I don't remember him saying that." And Leo's like, "Well, he would have
if he ever thought about it.
No, Leo. No, you don't make a pact with evil.
I mean, you say that. I say, is Leo more prolific as a sensei than Splinter at this point?
I mean, I get the strategy, but the way you're saying it, I don't like.
No, you're right. Donnie gets us another "let's burn rubber" quote.
Burn rubber, guys! Maybe we can outrun them!
But yeah, we have our big team up. Shredder and the Turtles finally are on the same side. Can you think of any other really good team-ups in Turtle history besides right here at this 87 moment where the Turtles have to work with Shredder?
That depends on how much you want me to spoil the current IDW run.
I mean, it is. We don't have to spoil anything. It is a major plot point in what's currently happening in the comic series, as written by Sophie Campbell. And it's what book are we on now? Like 120 something?
It's like 135.
So yeah, that's a big part of it right now. But can you think of other moments in any other version of the Turtles where that was a thing? I couldn't, so we might just skip this.
Well,
part.
I mean, so they've teamed up with Karai a whole bunch, and that's kind of like a similar vein.
There was a moment in the 2003, I feel, where Karai and the Turtles did have to face off against 2K3 Shredder, right? Yeah,
they're definitely in that. And I mean, like, in some of the more recent versions, definitely in 2012 at the very least, Karai is, like, she starts off as a bad guy and then kind of, like, comes to their side eventually. There's sort of, like, a similar tension with Karai in the IDW. Even Rise of the TMNT has the Jones character.
Cassie.
So, yeah, I mean, there's, like, some similar stuff, but this is definitely the first, at least in animation.
And it's definitely the first time, specifically, the Turtles and Shredder are on the same side.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big moment. That's a big moment for this franchise.
No, I mean, that's all I was going to say. It makes sense. Just, like, they had a thing here where in order to get out of it, they needed to team up, and it works really well with the whole Aliens homage that's happening.
It does. You're right. Now, I really love this stuff, and I look for more of it all the time. So moving on, highlight for me is when Raph just kicks a monster in the ass, and it falls over like an AT-AT in The Empire Strikes Back. And we had another real yikes animation error here. At one point, Leo dives in to actually save Shredder from getting wrecked by one of the monsters. And next time you cut, it's Raph standing there, but it still has Leo's voice.
Yeah.
And it's not a little one either. Like, it's a significant line delivery.
It is very noticeable.
The monsters are closing in. All hope is lost. But Mikey is diving for the controller, down going for a swim. And he just comes up blasting. Oh, wait, no, there's only one blast. The batteries are dead.
Oh, hey, before we get to that, can we just mention how Leo is, like, really super keen on dying in battle?
How do you mean?
Like, he says twice in this episode alone, like...
At least we'll go down fighting with honor, like real turtles.
Donnie's like, I'd rather go out living as mock turtles.
Like, with Leo and his leader characterization, that really just kind of is he's just like a cult follower. Might be a little harsh, but...
Like, he said it a couple times before, but this is the first time that he said it, like, in back-to-back situations where, like, when all hope is lost, you look to the leader to... say we're gonna die. Yeah, great job, Leo.
Yeah, I would have loved to Raph call him out for that one. But that's okay, because Leo can break physics and do a very questionable flip. And he lands by some electrical wires on the wall, and he cuts them. And then...
he, like Superman, flies across the sewer.
There's a flip. There's a flip involved.
There's a flip, sure, but there's, like, a whole, like, wind motion of him. Like, he doesn't even go in a straight line.
He follows the exact same trajectory as Michelangelo's nunchucks in the last episode.
Oh my god, yeah, it's amazing. Like,
no, what's amazing is how electricity moves at like 2 miles an hour.
And it skips from puddle to puddle.
Don't worry, this is exactly how electricity works. I'm an engineer, I know. But also, weren't they triggered by microwaves?
Yes.
So is electricity is just microwaves. Okay, I got it. They are the same thing. I learned that in school.
Well, Baxter just said a large amount of power. He didn't care what kind of power.
Apparently. Because I had to go back on that one, too. I had to backtrack several times in this episode to clarify, like, really loose ends. Because I wanted to see if he said more microwaves, and it's like, that's not a microwave. But yeah, he just says energy. And there's just so much convenient eavesdropping in this episode, because, like, Leo heard him say that, and he says, I heard what Baxter said.
Yep.
How? You were, like, I don't know, 50 feet in front of him in the sewer, running around the corner, like, on the other half? Like, how did you hear him say this?
I don't know.
Also, like, same thing with everybody knowing how the pizza got swapped, just convenience.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyways, the monsters go back to eggs, and Shredder dips and does a weird, like, head bob thing coming back down the sewer manhole cover. Just, like,
he looks so weird.
He looks so weird. How is that position working? Is he, like, straddling the hole and just, like, sticking his whole torso down between his knees?
When they zoom in, it makes more sense. It actually, like, the depth is right where it looks like he's at the back part of the manhole ducking down to, like, yell at them. But when they first show it, and when Baxter's climbing up the ladder, it looks like he's doing, like, a full handstand with just the one arm that's back up holding on the side.
I'd give it to him if that was his physical prowess. That'd be impressive.
He's just doing, like, full-fledged gymnast moves.
I mean, it's really the only flex he's got left at this point. He got humiliated by pizza, so. So we're back at the lair, and we're learning lessons. Donnie says, there's no such thing as free lunch. And I just want to cut right there. Like, that's it. That's the moral of today's episode.
I was going to say, like, when you ask me, like, what do I think today's moral is, I think it's that.
I think it's that too. Yeah, I don't really have a better one. But Mikey does come running back in, and he's got dinner, and you can probably guess what it might be.
We're back to the end of the episode gag. Woo!
But okay, why would they keep those? Why? Okay, so he brings out pizza, and they go, "Oh, I don't want meatballs or whatever," and it's like, it's clearly the alien meatballs. Why did they keep them?
Yeah.
And do you remember them coming back? Or is this a throwaway?
I do not. I do not remember them coming back.
I don't remember a second episode of Killer Pizzas.
Should have done it.
Should have done it. Also, for any executive of Playmates currently listening to the show, you should have done Shrinky Dink Pizza Monsters. For fuck's sake, where the hell were those toys?
That's an amazing idea.
So this whole episode is just a weird mash. I'm going to go ahead and call out Doug Booth, the writer of this episode. Back to school, man. Learn how pacing works and learn how linear plot development works. So the moral with Donnie's takeaway, there's no such thing as free lunch. Where does that stack up against Splinter's profound advice about cutting off a supply in the beginning? Because I was like, that's blatantly how this episode's going to end. They're gonna remember how to, like, uncook pizza, and it's like, that's not at all what happens.
No, it's funny because, yeah, that whole thing that he says is definitely set up as, like, this is how the episode is going to end. I 100% agree with you. And then the closest we come is Leo doing a short-range flying attack at an electrical cable and cutting it off.
Has nothing to do with cutting a supply, though.
No, I mean, he literally cut an electrical supply.
But if anything, that gave them more energy. I don't know. It's kind of the antithesis of what Splinter said.
Oh, yeah. No, if this was like, if that statement was Chekhov's gun, they didn't pay it off. They brought the gun out in Act 1, and then in Act 2, there was no gunshot.
That is a really deep cut evaluation that I did not expect out of this, but I will take it. Okay, so I mean, it was a weird episode. It was definitely a monster of the week kind of scenario, a one and done throwaway. No sincere plot takeaway from this. No real character development taken away from this. But fun, good fights, imaginative characters. The pizza monster design was excellent, even though it was blatantly a ripoff.
Yeah.
What was your takeaway as far as the rating in this episode to go? Bossa Nova, Chevy Nova, excellent, cowabunga.
Okay. This episode thus far is what I remember this series being like. I remember it being, like, wacky and fun and kind of ridiculous, and I enjoyed it. I was kind of leaning at, like, it's Bossa Nova then Chevy Nova?
Bossa Nova, Chevy Nova, excellent, cowabunga.
I was leaning in the Chevy Nova excellent range.
I am strongly in the Chevy Nova bank. This was not my favorite. I was honestly a little bit disappointed, but probably my own fault for setting expectations so high because of we knew what Monster was going to be and how great they are as villains.
This is so weird to me because like the first couple episodes and some of the other like excellent and cowabunga ones that we have watched so far, that's not how I remember this show at all. I watched those episodes being like, wow, this is really good. And yeah, and this episode is definitely not a like, wow, this was really good. This was, wow, this is exactly how I remember this show. So I don't know if that's sort of like an omen to the rest of the series is going to be kind of wacky ludicrous like this episode, but I still enjoyed it.
Wacky ludicrous is good, but yeah, there's something about perception and like you said, with how good some of these first episodes really were and how well they hold up, for them to fall into the formula felt a little disappointing.
Yeah.
It was bound to happen. And for what it's worth, the formula is good, but I was so surprisingly impressed with the episodes leading up to this that when it finally kind of defaulted, I went, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see where you're coming. And it does make me think, like, what are some of the episodes going to be? Are we going to hit those highs again? Or is it going to... I mean, the fact... There's like 10 seasons of the show, So... Like, it had to have stuck around for a reason, and I mean, obviously that reason's mostly merchandise sales, but I'm just wondering, like, is this the formula that they've now found, and this is what we're going to get from now on, or are there going to be more episodes like the earlier ones, even if they're not as often,
I do think there's some other arcing things that happen, especially when you get towards the later... Like when we meet Krang's lineage, there's a bit of an over arc to that, if I remember correctly. And I mean, even in generally the Red Sky seasons, when they tried to get more serious, they worked more on a linear plot development rather than an episode to episode.
There was a Red Sky in this episode. Yeah,
but that's not the commonly referred to Red Sky era, which was like season 7 or 8. I forget off the top of my head.
Yeah.
When the show kind of changes format a little bit.
Well, they start to move away from Shredder.
That when they move away from the formula. But the formula is good. I don't know. I think it's going to get refined as they are still kind of finding their footing. That being said, still a fun episode. Kids would love it. I was just like, oh, you were on such a really solid path right there for a bit, and now we're just kind of doing the silly stuff. But that's okay. Silly's good too.
I think part of this is because they moved away from the more personal story that they started off telling. Like, one of the things that I love so much about any iteration of Turtles is that relationship between Splinter and Shredder, and therefore the Turtles and Shredder. And we had that at the beginning of this show, and they were like, we've got to find the Shredder so that we can make him turn Splinter back into a human. Like, that was the whole, like, overarching reason why the Turtles kept like being in the proximity of this guy, and now it's literally just to stop like whatever wacky plot he's come up with that he thinks is going to bring him world domination, but in reality it's just hijinks, I guess.
We know that the focus of the turtle mythos was always about the rivalry between Orokusaki and Matayoshi, and that in the comics it's about training the sons to live up to that, right? In this cartoon, they gotta very clearly define the roles, right? So we know Shredder and Splinter hate each other, but kids don't care. They want to know why Shredder's mad at the Turtles. They want them to fight because they're gonna fight. Shredder and Splinter could easily talk out their problems.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't... Obviously, yeah, and like I get that it's supposed... You do want them to have a reason to fight each other. I'm not trying to make this Macbeth or anything like that. I just think that, like, the earlier episodes and why they were so good is because we had a real reason for these things to keep happening. And also there were some, like, really bombastic stakes in it. Like, the Technodrome's really freaking cool. Krang, even with his, like, ridiculous body, is like a threatening presence when it grows to be kaiju-sized. But it's like, I don't know. I just feel like at some point it transitioned from like they started off with the revenge story, even though it wasn't quite revenge. It was like, we need to figure out how to turn Splinter back into human, and Shredder's the one who's going to help us figure that out, instead of being like, we got to kill this guy. Totally get that change. Really like that change for this. But now they're just superheroes. They're just hanging around waiting for the next scheme that they have to stop.
You said it. They got to find a way to keep making Shredder threatening. We've already moved past the rivalry, and I guess you just kind of have to accept that Splinter's stuck this way until they talk about it again later on when they need to, move the needle a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm really interested in seeing, because there is, if I remember correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there is an arc or an episode where Splinter becomes human again.
We'll get there.
Okay, so I'm not far off base in that memory, that distant memory.
You're not. They do not forget the rivalry, but they do push it to the back of the room.
Well, then I'm looking forward to that, as well as what comes next week.
Yeah, next week is going to be another very important one, and I have a good feeling that it will pay off to me better than this one, because it is the development of a character that is a staple in the franchise, regardless of this animated series. Like, the pizza monsters don't exist anywhere else. Kind of got the squirrel noise in the 2012 episode, or the 2012 series, but they're a little different. A similar execution, but yeah.
But here is like, next episode is like the definitive version of this character for most people. And that's going to be very exciting to see it come together.
Yeah, and I really don't want to say any more, because I'm really looking forward to going this one blind and seeing where it lands for me, because, again, amazing character, excellent villain, no spoilers. But until then, thanks for listening. We hope to see you back next week. Until then, we'll leave you with your daily pizza affirmation. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "That which does not kill us makes us extra cheesier." Thanks, everybody, for listening, and until then, we'll leave you with this.
Let me out! There's been a terrible mistake!
Duderonomy is produced by Brian Van Gelder and me, Dan Spitaleri. Brian edits and mixes the show and also designed our show art. Our theme music is composed by Mario Sello Nuñez. You can hear more of his music on Spotify, which we've linked to in the show notes. Find us on Twitter at Duderonomy_TMNT and send email to deuteronomy.tmnt@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Cowabunga!
Our cute little pizza-eating powder puff.